Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ryan Mack Show. Couple things. Um, I know this looks a little bit familiar. We've had StreamYard before streaming. I went back to Rumble Studio to check it out and see if it was gonna be clean off the bat. It is not. It's still glitchy. It still needs a lot of work. So um, I'm gonna use StreamYard going forward because it's a little more user friendly for the most part, and volume is not an issue. There are some issues with video uploads to StreamYard still, and that's not because of platforming. It's because um, that some update changed with downloading videos, so I had to find another way I can do screen shares too in a little bit. All right, so why the left is afraid of Trump? That's what this show is about. And I got some other tidbits along the way and some illegal immigration update, some idiots on Twitter saying dumb things. But as I kind of navigate these streaming platforms, just have some grace. So since 2015, when Trump announced that he was running for presidency, it became a joke. Democrats on the left and rhinos like Mitt Romney and others on the right said, "Oh, he'll never win. He's never going to win. It's fine. He's not going to run. It's a joke. It's just for his publicity stunt. It's not a big deal." Well, he ran and he ended up beating the Bush dynasty, the Clinton dynasty, and a whole host of rhinos and other competitive long-term politicians for the presidency. Enter in the excuses from the left. It's not it's like when you get called a homophobe, it's not literal fear. It's fear in the sense that they know what he's capable of, and that's why they can't let him touch the White House. Democrats are about power and control and the destruction of the way of American life as we know it, as our founders constructed it, as the Constitution constructed us to be. These Marxists, new age progressive Democrats are way more aggressive than they have been 50, 70 years ago when they were progressive. From FDR and the New Deal back then. This is a new breed of rabid, foaming at the mouth creatures, and they will stop at nothing to get this man to lose. And if they can't legally take him out, meaning as their 91 counts of indictments for putting mustard instead of mayo on a sandwich fall through, and Fannie Willis continues to have more affairs, and the judge in New York continues to say that he hates Trump, these cases are going to fall flat on their face and they're going to fail. Even so, they're going to bankrupt him so that he has no cash to operate. He has to start selling property. If I were him, like I've said before, get out of New York, sell your property in New York, get rid of it, and go to Florida. That's where the freedom of opportunity is. It's not in New York anymore. He was a New York Democrat. He was a social democrat. And he was in a different realm back then. He was a businessman. He was wealthy. He was in all the circles with popularity. They loved him. But they've used this radical New York law against him. Like I think I brought it up in that last episode about his legal troubles in New York. They've used a decades-long law to hammer Trump and his businesses. Because why? Because he's Trump. When the governor came out and said, "Oh, don't worry, it's not you, it's him," that's your sign. They're not even hiding anymore. It's because of Trump. If Trump wasn't running, none of this would be happening. If Trump didn't win in 2016, we wouldn't have found out that he was spied on. If he didn't win in 2016, we wouldn't have found out all of the destruction the deep state has done. What he has done is expose the swamp in Washington. They're afraid of what a second term lame duck Trump would bring. They're afraid of their power grab ending. They're afraid of Americans waking up to the fact that they can't afford their homes, they can't afford to feed their families, they can't afford to keep their job or their livelihoods over the mandates in these progressive states. Now they can't afford to keep their families safe because every liberal hellhole has decided to take their guns away from them. Democrats are a party of removal of rights. No matter what they tell you, they do not stand up for freedom. They stand up for every control aspect they can over your life. That's why they're afraid of Trump. Remember when he said at the end of his 2016 or 2020 speech when he left office, they're not after me. They're after you and I. And he's just in the way. And ever since then, he's been right about everything Joe Biden's policies and the leftist policies have brought about the destruction of America. Look what's happening at the border. Anybody? What is happening at the border? About the equivalent of 36 US states coming into the country since Trump left office. His worst year, I've already mentioned it before, his worst year was Biden's lowest year. Lowest. At 800,000. It's gotten to be about 4 or 5 million over the course of the last year, and it's upwards of 15 to 20 million likely over the last 3 or 4 years. So, whose policies are working? On the social aspect, Trump figured out that he doesn't have as much support in Washington as he thought he did. And so I really believe revenge Trump on a lame duck term that he has no re-election campaign to fight. He is going to become scorched earth. He knows the mistakes he made in personnel, the mistakes he made in trusting individuals that thought were, oh yeah, you just need to trust us. You need to just choose us. We'll stand by you. Those are his enemies. They were part of the deep state. The left wants total control of the government. They want total control of your lives. They will stop at nothing to get it. And if they can bankrupt one of the wealthiest, most popular man on the planet besides Elon Musk, which doesn't even come close to Trump's money on Elon's front, he's got more money than God. But if they can bankrupt him, they can turn anybody they need into a pile of dust. If they can't beat him legally, they'll crush him financially. And if they can't beat him legally and crush him financially, they'll just start disappearing people around him. They'll start disappearing him. We'll wake up one day and go, where'd Trump go? I don't know. Maybe he just got disappeared. Nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. Nothing to see here. That's what the Clinton families did. They start disappearing people that came across their path. That's what Trump does. Now, remember when Democrats said that it was an insurrection and Trump caused it and incited it? That's why we have all these ballot removal cases against him now. And I'll get to that in a minute, with Illinois being the latest goon state to remove Trump from the ballot. It's going to backfire in the end because the Supreme Court's going to shut all of it down. They're going to hear Maine, they're going to hear Illinois, they're going to hear Colorado, whatever. If they're smart, they would wait until the general election to remove him on the ballot so that they can actually gain some ground. But the primaries don't matter. I'm not sure why they're trying to fight him off the primary, because he's not winning Illinois in the Democrat primary. But what this is doing is showing that if they can take out Trump, they can take out you and I. He is the closest thing to the American people. And if they can bring him down, they'll crush the American people. Another Biden term, another progressive leftist term in office, and this country is not going to look the same. It already doesn't in some aspects. But you can believe that they will be coming for more of your rights to be taken away. If they have a Democrat-controlled Senate on top of a Democrat-controlled House, you can bet that your guns will be taken from you, that your property will be taken from you, and that your livelihood will be taken away from you. They will crush the middle class, and you'll have nothing to do but leech on to the government teat. That's what they want. They want you relying on them. Now, I got off track there a little bit, but remember when they said he incited erection, just like Jayapal said, incited an erection, an insurrection. He incited insurrection. Now, if you're going to make that such a claim and you're going to spend 4 years talking about what an insurrectionist he is, wouldn't you have the means of keeping your mouth shut this time during the election? You would think. If you charge somebody with an insurrection, politically, publicly, and you say that that's what he did, and you're the party that stands up for the rule of law and that safe and secure elections are what happened in 2020 and 2000 and 2004 when Bush won re-election. Remember, you might want to keep quiet because what's happening now is that Democrats are saying openly that they are considering removing and refusing to certify Trump's presidency should he win. So if the court doesn't do their bidding, Democrats in Congress are going to start an insurrection to stop him from becoming president. But that's what they accused him and several Republicans of doing in 2020 when they voted to decertify the election of 2020 because they wanted Congress to take a look at what happened. They forget. Now, there's a piece in the National Review that talks about it. Democrats may refuse to certify a Trump election if he wins. The Supreme Court could prevent that. Now they're not going to wait on the Supreme Court because this is their mindset. If the Supreme Court that Trump picked, because this is his court, Democrats have that right also. Supreme Court has their pick. Okay, they're a 63 majority, which I think it's really a 5-4 because of Chief Justice. Anyway, if Trump wins re-election, Democrats in Congress won't commit to certifying the election. Where have I heard that before? Oh yeah, that's an insurrection. It's not just speculation from conservatives eyeing the extremely long track record of leading Democrats rejecting the legitimacy of Republican victories. It's the theme of Russell Berman in The Atlantic. He's talked enough to Democrats who paint a truly alarming picture of what might happen if the winner of the 2024 election becomes president. That's never happened in all of our history. As Berman wrote, as he wrote this, as Republicans are fond of pointing out, Democrats have objected to the certification of each GOP presidential winner since 2000. Gore should have beat Bush. None of these challenges went anywhere, and they were all premised on disputing the outcome and legitimacy of the election itself, which is what they accused Trump of doing. But every election they've lost, they've accused the other side of an insurrection and cheating and stealing the election. But they are on record doing the same thing they accuse Republicans of doing. They're on record openly cheating in an election and trying to stop a man from becoming president. Democracy is what they're ending by saying we must stop him. Democracy depends on it. Kind of seems like it's anti-democratic to continue to try to remove a president that is duly elected. So Berman talked to House Majority Whip James Clyburn from South Carolina, who voted against certifying George Bush's victory in 2004. He also talked to candidate Adam Schiff at the time, Senate candidate, who abstained rather than voting to certify Bush the same year. Zoe Lofgren, another nut job, did the same. Jamie Raskin, another idiot, objected to certifying Trump's victory in 2016. And Eric Swalwell, famous Fang Fang spy sleeper, also decertified. None of them would commit to certify electors for Trump, even if it was clear that Trump won. They couldn't get a response from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Obama puppet Hakeem Jeffries says he has said repeatedly not a legitimate president. I don't remember anyone on the left saying that Trump has been illegitimate, but they claim that he wasn't legitimate. And yet when we say Biden isn't, we're called racist, we're called bigots, we're called anti-election deniers and everything else under the sun. When the left does it, it's A-okay. Rules for thee, not for me. It's hierarchy. Dan Bongino says all the time, it's hierarchy. It's not hypocrisy. They don't care how hypocritical they look. It's hierarchy. They're in charge. You're not. Sit your ass down and shut up. That's what the playbook is for Democrats. So they're openly trying to stop an election from being certified. Got it. Okay. So, in other news fronts, with this, Trump and Biden have very different tactics when it comes to the border crisis. They both went down to the border recently. Okay. Biden went, and guess where he went? You would think a president of the current part of the United States would go to the border situation that was the hottest, right? The worst area impacted. Trump did during his presidency. He went to disaster areas all the time. Where did Joe Biden go? That's right, Brownsville, where they have pancakes and coffee. They don't have the issue at the border that Eagle Pass and El Paso do. So where does Biden go? He goes to Brownville. And I'm going to share this because I think you have to see it. This says everything you need to know about Joe Biden's mental fitness and whether or not the special counsel was right in his assessment. You don't have to be a doctor or a physician to see this dude has lost his marbles. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Share screen. Window. Boom. Okay. So here is Joe Biden just standing, and then his hats off to RNC Research. Here he is, just not knowing what he's doing. See if it'll play. It's about 10 seconds. It might not play. Maybe. That one might not. Okay, that's all right. All right, so this next video I want to play, see if it plays, is him talking about the asylum process, which takes too long. So here he is babbling about the asylum process that he helped dismantle when he became president.
You all know it down here, but the people around the country don't understand it. It's far too long. For today, the process to get a decision on asylum claim takes 5 to 7 years. You all know it down here, but the people around the country don't understand it.
So the man that stops the policies of Trump's at the border and makes the asylum process that much harder is telling you it's too long, we need to fix it. The same guy who ended the policy of remain in Mexico. Classy. Okay. Now here is another idiot. He is the DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. He is bragging on MSNBC that he rescinded all these policies that Trump had, and this is a good thing.
And I'd like to understand from you what Trump era immigration policies have been banned, ended, reversed, and if any investigations are underway by you.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
So he was openly bragging and saying it's okay to get rid of Trump's policies at the border, that they couldn't list how many they removed. And you have 15 million people coming into this country illegally and some committing murders, which I'm going to get to in another tidbit here too. But we rescinded Trump's policies that were working so that we can have more people come in and commit murders. Got it. These people don't care. They're afraid of Trump's power to get rid of everything that they are exposing. They want total power. They cannot be stopped. They're afraid that Trump is going to be scorched earth in his second term, and they have to do everything they can to stop him. They have to. If they don't stop him, all their progress is stopped, because I can tell you right now, he's going to come scorch earth. He's going to get rid of the ATF rules. He's going to get rid of the gun bans. He's going to eliminate a lot of the government agencies that have cramped down on everybody since he left office. Have you noticed that censorship has risen since Biden took office? Have you noticed that, I don't know, inflation has taken a hike since Biden took office? Have you noticed that journalism is no longer journalism and you can get jailed for telling the truth on a story? Oh, that happened too. A Blaze reporter was investigating and uncovering the truth about January 6th. He's been arrested and released today. They are afraid and terrified of Trump stopping their communist Marxist takeover of the country. That's why they're terrified. He's going to stop them at every way. He's going to stop the DEI hiring. He's going to destroy the DEI in the government, the diversity, equity, and inclusion crap. He's going to gut it out of the military. And my pick for that Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense position should be Ron DeSantis. I believe that he would be the one to gut the military of the DEI policies. The DEI or die policies have died. They are ruining companies. It once was illegal to hire somebody on the sole basis, or not hire somebody on the sole basis of their sexual orientation or their race. But now companies are openly hiring only people because of their race or gender or who they sleep with. That used to be discrimination. That used to be held accountable by court of law. You cannot hire or not hire. You can hire or not hire based on the race or gender. That's illegal. That's a thing. Democrats want it so that we can hire more people based on their skin color, not based on merits. They don't care about merit. They don't care about qualifications. They care about skin color and how many genders they are and how many pronouns they have. That's what this whole Marxist takeover of America is. You have to understand that. This isn't just one of your elections where you go, well, I'm just going to live my life. I'm going to vote for who I think is nice. I'm going to vote for who I think is going to just leave me alone. We always say it all the time. I know it gets old. You hear it on other shows. This is one of probably the most elections of our lifetime. I'm going to say it again. This is one of the most elections of our lifetime. You can't just sit back and allow this slow destruction to take place even further, because another Biden term and you're going to witness the end of an empire that lasted over almost 300 years. You're going to witness the end of freedom as we know it. It may not seem like it overnight, and it won't. It's becoming the last 20, 30 years, government has bloated into the blob it is. But you are going to see the largest takeover of a country that has built on liberty and freedom disappear. We are, like Reagan said, freedom is always one generation away from being lost. You have to keep fighting for freedom. There's no more explanation of that. All right. I'm going to transition here. I got some other stuff to cover with it, but that's the main emphasis of today's show. They're afraid of Trump because A, he's going to stop their Marxist communist takeover of the country. He's going to put people in place that he can trust to dilute and destroy the woke in this country. He's going to do it. He's going to learn from his mistakes. He's not going to make the same mistakes. He's going to put people in place that will nuke the entire communist takeover of the country. He has to win, and I believe he will. The polls have shown. I don't trust polls, but I'd rather be ahead than not. And right now, he's winning in all the swing states if the general election were happening today. Like I said, you don't want to put your faith in polls. It's too early, and you want to see boots on the ground. But I'd rather be ahead in a poll than not. So as it stands today, Trump would be your winner and the president of the United States again. But that remains to see. We've got Nikki Haley is still running, but I'm gonna get to that in a minute. All right, so over the weekend, I know it's been a little bit longer. I know last week I went on Thursday and I had some tech issues working on. As I said in the beginning, that I'm using StreamYard again because Rumble is on their slow climb to success, which is going to take off. I believe it is. But I was testing it out and seeing what it looked like, and it's a little glitchy and it's hard to kind of get around some of the audio and the freezing of it. So once it picks up steam, I can assure you I will be using Rumble Studio full time as it gets going. But all right, so the last time I was on, there have been two primaries. South Carolina was last Saturday, and then Michigan was on Tuesday, and they were both simultaneously. South Carolina was Republican primary because Democrats had theirs a few weeks ago. In South Carolina, Nikki's home state, a two-term governor, she gets beat by 35 points. Joe Biden on the Democrat side, when they had their primary, he won 96% of the vote. Guess how many people voted for Joe Biden? 96% of the vote. 126,000 people. That doesn't seem enthusiastic for an incumbent president in a state that Democrats helped him win when he was lagging behind 5th in the contest in 2020. More unsurprising is Trump's numbers. Trump had the most votes in South Carolina history in the primary. He had well over 460,000 votes as the Republican primary. Nikki Haley had 298. She could only barely get 300,000 votes in her home state. Remember when that nut Liz Cheney decided to run for re-election in her House seat after the January 6th committee dissolved? And she was going to run for beating Trump. She was going to stop him from becoming president. She got beat by 40 points in her own primary in her state. They denounced her as Republican in Wyoming. That's how much the MAGA team. If you're a Democrat and you find this video eventually, which you probably will, I don't know why you would, but you might. If you find this video eventually, I hope you listen to this point. It's gonna suck real soon. And you're gonna say, well, 30%, 40% of the vote, she did really well, and 30%, 40% of Republicans didn't want to vote for him. That's a winning strategy. That's like saying I almost got all of my pizza, but I ate 30% of it. But I had a good fight. That is a losing strategy. If winning is losing for Nikki Haley, congrats, because you're doing it really well. All right. So then Michigan happened Tuesday. And again, Biden won Democrat primary, as he should. He's an incumbent, right? Trump won 750,000 votes, beat Nikki again by 30. But MSNBC still is coming out and on CNN, well, she still should stay in there because they're getting 30, 40% of the vote. They don't want him. 40% of the Republicans don't want Trump. But 60 to 70% do. That's the point. 60 to 70% of people do want Trump. It doesn't matter that 30 to 40% idiots don't. MAGA isn't going away. I hope you Democrats understand that. It's not an extremist terrorist threat. It literally means make America great again. Who doesn't want to make America great again? Just me. All right. So the primary, Trump's keeps rolling on. And I want to get to some other stuff here. I know we've got some more news updates. So this is from the Daily Wire, or not Daily Wire, but Daily Caller. A majority of Americans support building border wall for the first time in Monmouth polls history. So Trump's policies on the border worked. Majority of U.S. citizens now support building a border wall, according to a poll at Monmouth University released Monday. They have been surveying public attitudes toward building a wall at the southern border since 2015, when former President Trump made it an integral part of his campaign. Support for the wall was swelled from a low point of 35% during his administration to now 53%, with only 46 in opposition. It's like the Moneyball theory. If open borders work, why don't they work? A wall is not going to keep somebody out. It's making somebody come in through the front door the right way. That's what it is. But for the first time, majority of Americans, because Democrats don't know have any idea what most Americans want. They want secure border, they want low inflation, and they want to be able to afford their way of life, and they want their freedoms left alone. They want to be able to shoot guns when they want them. They want to be able to go where they want to go and not be needed by mandates and lockdowns and intrusive policies of Democrats for the last 50, 60 years in states. So this poll was conducted, and a large majority of the perceptions of the dangers of illegal migrants have shifted in regards to belief that illegal immigrants are more likely to commit violent crimes like rape or murder as opposed to U.S. citizens. The percentage of those who agreed with the sentiment rose to 32% from just 17% in 2015. So in 2015, they said, oh, well, they're not committing those kinds of crimes. Trump's just over the top. He's not really, shouldn't really build the wall. Now they're saying, oh my God, we've got 15, 20 million people here. And now you've got back-to-back days in which illegals have murdered somebody, and their first crime was not being here legally. Had these individuals not been here, these crimes wouldn't have been committed. More on that in a minute, because that is starting to really tick me off, because they're going to try to tie crimes to not be towards immigration, and they're absolutely tied together, because the very first crime that's being committed is here illegally. And now they're going and raping college girls who are just off on a jog. And you have mindless Democrat zombies going, well, she shouldn't have been out running. That's her fault she got raped while running. Shouldn't have been running. It wasn't Jose's fault. Plus, he's white. He's not, his race isn't Mexican or Venezuelan. He's white. His literal arrest card says white. Another illegal immigrant that was here from some other country also said white. They're labeling them white. Their skins are like caramelized sugar, brown. They're not white. Comments section, lovely wife. They'll just write him in. Yeah. Funnily enough, he's on the ballot. Yeah, stating he started an erection. Yeah. It's an ice cream cup. Yeah. Yeah. It's like a virus. It's starting and spreading. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So there's a poll from Daily Caller. So earlier, Trump and Biden visited the border. Okay. And this is where it ties into this illegal immigration / criminal enterprise. Okay. So the contrast between Trump and Biden on the border couldn't be any more clear. Trump went to Eagle Pass. He says Biden's policies are 100% the blame. Hands down. You had the most secure border by any means the last decade and a half under Trump's policies. Like him or love him, his policies at the border worked. Fox News. Now this gets into what happened with Laken Riley murder in Georgia, and I have a video on the mayor who just, when it comes to stupid, there's a whole lot of them. So Trump blamed Biden for border invasion and Laken Riley murder. Vows to have the largest deportation operation if elected. That was from Fox News. So he blasted Biden on the border of his handling of the policy, and he blamed it specifically on the hands of the illegal immigrant who killed Laken Riley. She's a Georgia college student, a nursing student at Georgia, University of Georgia. Laken Riley was a 22-year-old nursing student from Augusta University. She was found dead on the University of Georgia campus Thursday morning Thursday after her roommate reported to authorities that she had not returned home from her morning run. Georgia Police Department arrested Jose Antonio Ibarra and charged with aggravated malice, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, concealing the death of another. UGA Police Chief Jeffrey Clark said during the briefing Friday morning. The suspect is not a U.S. citizen. ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, said Sunday confirmed the Venezuelan national entered the U.S. illegally in 2022 and had previously been arrested in New York City. There are so many stories like this across the country. And literally just the next 2 days later, another illegal committed a murder. There are a small percentage of these people coming across needing little more than just a house or a place to live and a better opportunity. But there are large portions of military-aged men across the border who are seeking nothing more than to cause problems. There are criminals from day one crossing the border illegally, not using the port of entry. They are raping women, they are stealing your children, and they are taking your taxpayer dollars. And nobody sees a problem with that. I don't understand. But yet, this is what the leftists think. CNN, little evidence to connect crime to border crisis in Georgia student murder. Well, the fact that he was an illegal was your first connection. And had he not been here, he wouldn't have committed the murder in the first place. I get that sometimes people don't follow politics as closely as maybe they should because everything seems to run together and it's mind numbing and it's a lot. I get it. But think of the table issues like inflation, securing the border, crime, schools. Those are things that you should care about if you're all the above. If you're shopping for groceries to feed your family, if you're driving to work and commuting, you need to make sure gas is cheap and affordable and your house is affordable and you're not going to be able to lose it based on mortgage hikes and inability to buy anything else. Your dollar is going to get crushed. It is continuing to get crushed because of this administration and the left hijack of the system. There's nothing more damaging to a country than you ruining the middle class by hemorrhaging them to the point of no return. If you remember nothing else during this election cycle, remember food for your family, your house, to be able to defend your family, securing the border so that you don't have to worry about losing a daughter to rape or murder, and whether or not you can be free to do what you want. It's no more basic than that. America, as most of us in the millennial age and older, as we've seen it growing up, is going to be gone. And for most people that just sit back and go, it's not affecting me. It's a national thing. It's just where I live. It's not. Believe me, there are so many articles I came across this week that announced that small towns were coming close and closer and closer and closer to criminal activity and illegal activity. Illegal immigrants are coming into small towns and crime is leaving the big city and coming to small towns. It's going to happen in a small town near you. Are you going to be prepared? What are you going to be able to do? Right now, a lot. But when you have a federal government stepping in saying, nah, let that man sleep in your front porch. You can't arrest him. Or you have an illegal immigrant become your officer down the street because one retired because he couldn't handle the crime. Or your kids come home from school and they announce that they are becoming trans. You denounce it. You say no. The state, if Illinois passes it, can take your kid away from you. If you remember nothing else, remember the things that matter and close to you. Security, your safety for your family, affordability of your groceries, and to keep your house. and the ability to make decisions as a parent or as a household to yourself, and not have to rely on the federal government overreach to tell you that for you. I'm just saying, if you don't want to listen to the national crime stats on illegal immigrants and it happened in Georgia, so it's not affecting you here in small town Illinois, I get it. But if you're going into the election season just with, you know what, it's not affecting me, it's not here. That's a losing strategy. It's going to get somebody else killed close to you. If you remember nothing else, remember the things that impact you the most: affordability of your groceries and your utilities. And you can keep your house and your dollar goes farther. Those are the most important things. And remember, Republicans are not going to be the answers to all your problems, but Democrats will always, always be the cause of your problems. What they've created is a system of division that so bad that you can't even have a basic conversation, even if you disagree politically. That's what Democrats have done. They've sowed the seed of division so that divide and conquer, the easier you are to control. When you have chaos and division based on race and sexual identity, and you're all confused, and your kids are coming home with unicorns attached to their head, that's by design. None of you seem to understand that, at least quietly, just ignoring it. All of this is by design. This is the whole point. The Trump thing and the why they're afraid of him. He's gonna be fine, and he will destroy what they're doing. But you have to put him in office. And you can sit there and say, "Why? Why matter? It's not going to matter because my vote doesn't matter." It does. It does matter. It will always matter, dude. Regardless of what you think, keep voting. Like the ballot issue, Illinois judge going to take him off the ballot. Cook County judge, because he incited an erection. Even though the state board of elections voted unanimously to keep him on the ballot, and the challenges to Biden on the ballot, they decided, no, we're just going to let Democratic practices take place. We're going to let people vote. People will decide. Even for a liberal Democrat state like Illinois, the election committee said, nope. And then you have a Cook County judge just randomly, as an activist, go, nope. He cited an insurrection. He must be stopped. Information for you: they will not print. This is coming from the McLean County here in Illinois circuit clerk. She posted a post on Facebook the other day. They will not print new ballots without him on it. So he is still on the ballot come March 19th. It's early voting. Get out and vote. I would say as early as often as you can, because that at some point it probably will, because Democrats seem to do it. They let the dead vote. But it's early voting, and here in Illinois we have 4 months, and it seems like 4 years of voting because they've opened up open season. But get out and vote, and you're not always going to make the right choices, but inform yourself as much as you can on who to vote down ballot. We know Trump is running; he's going to be the nomination for the Republican Party. But the key tickets: learn your local candidates. All politics are local. It's nothing more simple that your county board, your school board member, your local state representatives that will run to Springfield and help you try to stave off some of the progressive, even though we have a super minority in the state of Illinois for the first time in a long time. And it's going to take a long time to get that back, to edge out, but you have to keep putting people in, like a Darren Bailey, like some of these other around the state that are Mary Miller in Congress. You have to start putting God first people in the state and in charge. Around here, we've got a school board that is very close knit and very tight, and they're very much common sense orientated. And a lot of them run for a re-election, and they get voted in because they leave things alone. They know what buttons to push and what not to push. They know the line. They don't go over it. You don't see the problems in some of these rural areas in the states that are more conservative, because they're close-knit communities that have a straight line and they don't get crossed. If they do, you'll hear about it on the national news. School boards all over the country throwing fit because school boards become activists and they decided they are in charge of your kids and curriculum. If nothing else, remember education of your kids, crime, local control, and your freedom to continue to do what you love doing in this great country. You have to remember that. All right. We have more election stuff because aside from Trump running, Democrats going to try to stop him. You have the illegals committing murders everywhere. The Laken Riley case. There's another one I don't remember the name of. But you have the mayor of this county where she was murdered. And I think I have a video of him. So he made it. He voted to be a sanctuary city. And again, he says another dumb thing. He says that illegal immigration has no connection to this murder, just like CNN and MSNBC did. But he's the mayor of a city that he claimed to be a sanctuary city. So I'm going to try to play it and share screen. There. All right. So this is Athens mayor. He's a sanctuary city mayor.
While 2019 was not that long ago, you might remember the dynamic we were living in the late teens in this country, where you had the President of the United States speaking in the most vile terms about people who were foreign born. And you had that notion metastasizing in places like Charlottesville. In the main, I caution against.
Yeah. This is what is, there's about 30 seconds left, but this is what is happening. This is literally openly saying that there's no connection to illegal immigration. And here he is again. In 2019, this Libs of TikTok exposing him. This is him passing a resolution to become a sanctuary city.
Clark County Unified Government is welcoming to people from all lands and backgrounds and strives to foster a community where individuals and families of all statuses feel safe, are able to prosper, and can breathe free.
The Democrats caused the problems. He wouldn't have to make that statement and a recent statement about connecting the dots to immigration, illegal immigration, and murders if he didn't become a sanctuary hellhole for which they could commit crimes. Democrats are causing the problems all the time. Now, I have another video. I don't need to share the screen. All right. So there you have it there. You've got Democrat after Democrat just acting a fool. They all say the same thing. Oh, it's just a one-off. That's silly. She was running. Sanctuary cities. That's where you have it. Sanctuary cities allow immigrants in. You get raped and murdered. They call it no connection whatsoever. One does not enter the other. If he wasn't here, he wouldn't have been here to commit the murder. There you go. But remember, the most fit, most mentally fit individual is Joe Biden. Okay? This guy is office rocker all the time. I showed you a clip of the border. Duh. He doesn't know where he's at. Now remember this, because if nothing else, also on election day, when the idiot said, we're bringing decency back to the White House, we're bringing respect, the adults are back at the table, what filth you are going to get in the White House even more. It's going to turn into like the Hunger Games, where you have some weird twisted costume party of fake man boobs running around naked, and his schlong is bouncing off the freaking leg because it's a dude in a dress. You're going to get more of that. Never mind the issue of a mental health issue that exposes from this LGBTQ premium version of gay plus. This is what you get if you vote for Joe Biden again in 2024.
Character is on the ballot. Compassion is on the ballot. Decency, science, democracy, they're all on the ballot. Who we are as a nation, what we stand for, and most importantly, who we want to be. That's all on the ballot. How old are you, 17? And the choice could not be more clear.
The choice could not be more clear. Decency is on the ballot. Democracy is on the ballot. Your 17-year-old daughter could be sniffed by Joe Biden. That is on the ballot. Let her be sniffed by Joe Biden. I approve this message. I'm Jill Biden, Joe Biden's husband. What? Decency is back in the White House. Remember that come November. All right. So other news, other tidbits. GOP leadership in the Senate is also going to change hands in November. I really hope it is not who they say it is, who their candidates could be. There's a whole other issues I was going to get into, but I wanted to touch on the Trump and Democrat thing. There's, legal immigration is affecting all small towns. The gerrymandering of districts turning a possible nightmare for Republicans to keep their seats in Congress in New York, to keep the majority, because it runs through New York. And if they gerrymander in New York, they can lose majority. Then you have the case in New York also with Trump's legal team, Alvin Bragg. He is going to be announcing that he wants a gag order from him to keep talking. This is again goes back to why they're so afraid of him. They're going to try to shut him up. They don't want him talking to anybody. And by imposing a gag order, a judge can say, yeah, you can't say anything. He's literally in the middle of a campaign that's election interference. So they're afraid of Trump saying and speaking his mind and speaking the truth about what's happening. They don't want to be exposed. Another story I can get to next time, but it's basically a Delaware court, Delaware of all places, found out that no, you can't have election season. That's not how this works. So that's something I can bring up next time. The administrative state is destroying our country. This was one that I wanted to. I felt it was important because it was on the same topic about why they're so afraid of Trump. Because the administrative state right now, you have unelected bureaucrats controlling the process of laws. You have agencies that are supposed to bend the knee to Congress and making laws. You have ATF, you have DHS, and you have all these other FBI, CIA, these alphabet agencies doing the rulemaking that Congress is supposed to do. So the administrative state and the executive branch, and you have the judges and courts and rogue territories interpreting the law however they see fit. And you can get Trump off the ballot for that way, because you can say that the 14th Amendment says, yeah, he incited an insurrection, despite no evidence to the opposite otherwise, and the fact that he hasn't been charged in insurrection, so you can't really interpret that as such. But this was from Substack. This is attorney Bobby Ann Cox. She wrote this on there. It is clear to me that we are increasingly being governed by an administrative state instead of by our chosen representatives. Indeed, we are more and more becoming a regulation nation, which is a true threat to our constitutional republic. What does she mean by this? She means that we are going to be governed by regulations and rules issued by administrative agencies instead of being governed by laws duly passed by elected officials. So, like I just said, that Congress has the authority to pass laws. Instead, they're letting the ATF and the other agencies make the laws for them. The EPA on climate policies, the education department making all kinds of sexual education decisions and laws without having to go through Congress. Why does this matter? Because agencies are run by unelected government bureaucrats who are beholden to nobody but the person who appointed them. They don't care what the voters think or want or don't want. They don't need to care. They don't need your vote to stay in power. They only have to appease the politicians who appointed them. If they just follow the yellow brick road, they will land on the other side of the rainbow. Shockingly, some legislators are okay with this because it allows them to escape any sort of responsibility or blame for the unpopular or illegal rule that is implemented by the bureaucrats sitting in the agencies. So, if you'll remember from grade school social studies, that our government is comprised of three co-equal branches: the legislative, senators and assembly members who make our laws, the executive branch, governors and the president who are supposed to enforce our laws, and the judicial branch, the judges and courts which adjudicate our laws. They interpret the laws as written, and the executive branch enforces the law. That's the basic civics. Each branch has its own powers and authorities as bestowed upon them by our Constitution. Any power is not delineated in the Constitution is reserved for the people. Just like the Roe v. Wade decision with abortion. That power was not explicit in the Constitution, so therefore it goes to the states. The states decide that case, as should have been the case. So it goes on. It's a long article about an opinion piece in Substack. She's really good. And they could skew, illegal immigration, all that stuff. So another one is Jack Smith. He's the attorney, special counsel, going after Trump for classified documents. He's trying to fight to keep the questionnaire from juries being asked who they voted for in 2020. Judges have a right to ask that. He's trying to keep that quiet. So that was from the Washington Examiner. He's wanting to fight to seal a proposed questionnaire that will be used to select a jury. Why would you be fighting so hard for a guy that you think you can beat? Why can't he ask? Why can't the judge ask if who you voted for in 2020? Because I can guarantee you in a DC court, a jury of his peers will not be his peers. They will be all Biden and Obama supporters that will try to convict him. That's why Jack Smith doesn't want this to be out and be asked who they voted for in 2020. So another attempt at trying to stop Trump from winning, to keep hush about their real intentions. These are people who hate Trump and hate you. Remember that. And then there's an immunity case coming this week, Supreme Court, to decide if presidential immunity for things that Democrats think he had no immunity, so that's fine. Also, big news, longtime GOP senator, the turtle, Mitch McConnell is stepping down from his leadership role in November. He's going to wait till November. Not sure why he didn't wait, try 20 years ago when he was, losing his mind. But there was I saw an article of Politico, the political playbook of the Democrats. They're going to lose the Ukrainian power money bag. His sole support for Ukraine. What a sad day in Congress. No, good riddance. And anybody that lines up to lead after him, hopefully will be better than what he left it. Mitch McConnell is nothing but power and greed, and what's a symbol of what's wrong with Washington. He is the worst person to lead this Republican Senate. We need new leadership. In the House, you saw it. Mike Johnson hasn't been the most credible speaker, but he's a far cry from McCarthy, who just gave things to Democrats. He is going to get this right. You want to vote policies versus people. Mike Johnson so far, maybe a C minus. Now that some candidates to replace Mitch, Cocaine Mitch, Turtle, and his freezing brain when he goes to press conference. Mitch, hello. Are you running for re-election? That's where we're at. You can be in Congress till you're dead, till you're 90. Senator John Cornyn, John Thune, and John Barrasso are look at candidates for replacing him. Those of the three, Senator Barrasso is the most conservative. However, I want none of them to be the Senate leader. It has to be somebody in the mold of Mike Johnson, whatever, or Ted Cruz for that matter. Ted Cruz or Rick Scott would be a good Senate leader, majority leader, but it has to be somebody else that will not shove their face up Ukraine's ass. It has to be somebody who will look Schumer and Biden in the eye and go, no. Stand up for conservative principles. That's what our next leader of the Senate should be. All right. I bored you enough. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Ryan Mack Show. I do have a couple of housekeeping things before we go. Like I said, if you're just joining the stream, I'm going to stay with StreamYard for now until Rumble fixes their glitchiness of having their own platform. It will be easier in the end. I just think I might go back and forth depending on things going forward. But also, still go to Rumble, my Rumble channel. I'll put it up on social media, and this will be shared on YouTube too. I can put it in the comments too. rumble.com/ there we go. This will be where I will still upload everything too. But you can follow Ryan Mac Show on Rumble. Also, RyanMacShow.com. That is also a thing. I'll put that in the comments as well. You can get the Rumble videos there, YouTube videos there. There's a link to Facebook. And that is also going to be changing here in a minute. So there's the RyanMacShow.com. It's made it easier to streamline in one place. You don't have to go to Apple or Google or Spotify, although you still can to get the audio versions. If I'm still using StreamYard, it'll be easier. I'll still continue to link audio stuff because it can file it separately. But RyanMacShow.com is where you can go to kind of get everything in one place. Eventually, I'm going to have merchandise up there. I'm trying to kind of plan and see what I can do with that. You can also support the show in other ways. Follow, like, subscribe, and like with all your friends. The Ryan Mac Show. Rumble is going to be the platform going forward in the future at some point. It's going to be just primarily Rumble. But for now, I'm going to be on YouTube, and it will stream to Twitter, X. But so Facebook, I might decide to just let my personal page be the primary page and go public with it, because my other page doesn't get a lot of hits on it. It's not like I'm trying to say, like, I don't care about that, but if I have one easy place to load everything, it'll just be a public figure thing. So Rumble will be the platform to go to. I think I've said everything that I needed to say tonight. So it's been a little glitchy the last couple of nights, last couple of times. I'm trying to get on Rumble, but there it is. They're not after Trump. They're after us. He's in the way. Democrats are terrified of him winning again. That's why they're doing everything they can to stop him. So that's the reality of it, and we can't let that happen. Thanks so much for tuning in. Like I said, at RyanMacShow.com, and I'll see you next week.